Some muscly boys taking turns pounding me up against a wall, dramatic defeats, explicit violence, some ludicrous skill use, some boss battles, and more interdispersed with holiday pictures, extreme dodging, extreme not dodging, boss after boss, and some damage like you wouldn't believe. But all stories, unfortunately even this one, needs to start at the beginning. Well, actually I do have a backstory. I'm a warrior. I'm a strong warrior. So of course I wanted to be called Thorny. It's already taken. I must have that for another character. Rules of the run. Passive damage only. But I'm not using minions. But I'm Thorny Bjorny. So strong. Or should I say overweight. So overweight. He escapes death. And I can showcase you part of the really cool intro. Character intro to Path of Exile. Pants of Excitement as I like to call it. So glorious graphics we're seeing here. Apologies in advance for the aspect ratio here. And a lot of you won't realise that that's such a thing, but yeah, it looks a bit tall. That's unfortunately my new computer is quite tall. Very explicit beginning. I'm going to say, you can see a lot of not safe for work. I'll cover what I can, but use your imagination there. Technically I do kill someone there, although were they already dead? I'm kind of laughing to myself already here. This is going to be a long one, lads. So bear with me. I've tried to cut this video down as much as I can, and I would have loved to have made 3 Diablo 2 videos in the time it took to make this, but it is an exceptionally long game. There are so many boss battles, and for those that haven't seen Path of Exile 2, then be prepared to see it. It looks great. I think there's a lot of improvements they need to make. But I think it looks fantastic. It plays very, very similar to Path of Exile, which I suppose is to be expected, but very, very. So the first of the mechanics we're up against there is the stun meter. I'm kind of learning the game at this point. And there's our first skill gem. Completely useless to us. Unfortunately, I have to actually put it in and equip it my hotbar to be allowed through. The whole thing's a speedrunner's nightmare, to be honest. But I will be speeding through this first bit. There's a lot to get through, as I'm sure many of you who will have played this already know. There are so many bosses in this game. 3 acts that actually are very, very similar to the first 3 acts of Diablo 2, which is quite good fun. So we can do some quite good comparisons. And my god, this guy has been eating some bread. There you go. That's the kind of quality you should be expecting. The game pauses it and tells you to dodge, and I still managed to get clipped by that. So the issue I've got here is I'm not doing any damage to the guy. I think I accidentally shield bashed him, which is another really irritating mechanic they've added to raise shield. Incredible dodge there. So I think the only reasonable thing to do would be to punch him to death. Unfortunately, there's no items in that early part of the game that would allow me to even access to an inventory to give me that first item that I need to get going. The first kind of thorns item. At this point, it descends into pretty much a, night out in Birmingham, just a fist fight. And I definitely didn't end up using the club because I couldn't punch him to death because I didn't have the skill. That just wouldn't happen to me. And the fact that I'm holding what looks like a club is entirely circumstantial. So let's not just gloss over it. Now, I'm not sure if we're actually paused at this point, so maybe I'm just quickly do that a bit quick. But I now know that it does pause within that menu. So we find ourselves into the town. A rainbow town. What is this, Diablo 3? Look at those colours. Ah, nice little touch. Looks very cool. And bearing in mind that I think Renly, he might be my dad. Sound like I was trying to act then. I think he might be my dad. Dad, is that you? Anyway, let's get on with the game. Clear it out. Now, Path of Exile isn't a game you really start from scratch if you can help it. And I'm starting here with the Crown of Thorns just to get me going. So it has some decent energy shield. It also has some thorns as well. I literally can't talk at the moment. I've had a real difficulty. I've got a new laptop. I had to reset my microphone, all that kind of stuff. All the stuff that you really do not care about, I've had to go through. So, yeah. Thanks for listening. And what have these wolves got against my shield? Nothing. Lovely little graphics there. Lighting looks incredible. I do wish they did a little bit more. Oh, don't distract me, guys. I wish they'd maybe made a little bit of water effect on the wood. The pillars, that is. But I mean, look at the environment. It looks incredible. I'm just going to show you down the bottom, because for those that want to play along, there's a stun bar just at the bottom, just next to my... so the red orb is the health. The light blue shell that you see slightly getting ticked down there is my shield. You can see that at the bottom left. It looks at 188 now. And this guy will... unbelievable. He's trying to troll us all. But it's a case of not letting that stun bar go all the way to the top. Otherwise I get to that knockdown, and then there's nothing I could do about getting hit. Here I'm just getting hit with spells I shouldn't be. I'm not an expert at this game by any means. We're kind of learning as we go. By the end of it, oh, what, are you kidding me? I look incredible. That's half the battle, right? It's just having the morale, knowing that you just feel good. Skill gem there, completely useless. Lovely little camp here. Hello. Unfortunately, a lot of the early enemies are just super slow to attack. So there's a lot of learnings I've gone through. A lot of learnings like how to edit this. It's very like fast paced in terms of there's always the next thing to do. So there's a huge amount of editing that has to go into these, like Path of Exile 2 video, comparative to Diablo. Maybe I've just done so many Diablo 2 at this point. But let's talk about our first boss. And it looks like she's taking damage. I mean, 4. You can see just above the health bar, you can actually see how much damage you do, which is really good fun when the damage is good. Not so much fun when the damage isn't great. Clearly, at this early level, she doesn't have a huge health pool anyway. And when the doggies come in, you can see the concern I've got is that stun bar actually starts coming up. I think we've got this. It's just going to be an endurance session. A lot of these fights. For those who have witnessed me fight Izual on Players 8 with Arctic Blast and other such things, yeah, no issue whatsoever. And the head of the Winter Wolf, which is an incredible reward. 10% cold resist. You can see here a lot of the weapons actually aren't in the game yet. Daggers and swords being some of the most obvious you'd expect to be in. And this intimidating map is the skill tree, which is nowhere near as complicated as people think. You can see they're putting in some extra armor. Gives me a good opportunity. You can see the pace of the game at the start there. Quite intimidating. Some decent extra armor from this shield. I've got a little bit of bank there. You can see like 40k that I've got in cash. I'm not going to not use that. It just saves a lot of farming, and trust me, there's a lot of farming that goes on. And a lovely little cheeky belt there. These are the kind of things I've picked up from my first run through. So this is what you consider to be like a ladder game at this point. One of the new seasons. So you'll see it's got potentially some hunter pack type gimmick. A lot of the Path of Exile games throughout the seasons had some pretty interesting gimmicks that just made the game a little bit fun. And what was nice is they used to fold those mechanics just into the core game, and in the end you just had this ridiculous, you know, there was something to do that was different around every corner, but it was very, very complicated. The first time I did the Devourer, I was like, wow, this game is incredibly tough. But I think I was just being an idiot and getting hit a lot when you don't want to. You can see there an involuntary parry that I do every time I try and block and then move immediately after getting hit. It does that kind of like shield bash. Thankfully the damage of shield bash is very low, so I don't feel like I'm kind of cheating by using it or mistakenly using it. But the Devourer, actually very easy. Easier getting hit by it with a shield than trying not to get hit with it. I think it was my minion build. It's the only one I've ever really played on this. And now we can see some of the support gems that go with it. The game feels complicated to people who haven't done it before, but a lot of this stuff is just augmenting skills with other small abilities. And Unbreakable gives me an improved stun threshold, so hopefully that stun bar will take a little bit longer to max out. And here's Delwyn, so we can see the season mechanic here, which is the hunt. And what the hunt does is create this little orb, this little like pixie you can fire around, or wisp. And it helps the creatures, gives them extra health, but also gives them a better experience, I think, and better magic find. And ends up with, here you can see hairy gasp. My God. I pulled down her trousers and then... Thankfully, pretty pedestrian at this point, though. That could prove an interesting mechanic if we get it at the right time or the wrong time. And a nice shield there, some extra life, evasion, stuff like that. Pretty good. I quite like the armour at the moment, so I might stick with that. We don't need to worry too much at the early part of the game, other than stacking thorns, really. Because otherwise the damage we're doing is just so minimal. So here in the Red Veil, very cool, it's like all these rusted weapons, like seeping in, almost the rust and the blood seeping into these rivers now and turning them red, which is very cool. Unfortunately, we come up against one of our biggest nemesis at this point, which is anyone with a ranged weapon. Anyone who doesn't attack is probably the most dangerous. And anyone with a ranged weapon is also extremely dangerous, because Thorns doesn't work, at this point at least, against anyone with ranged attacks. And this place is full of ranged attackers. You can see here, kind of learning some of the boss mechanics. And getting absolutely wrecked at the same time. So the difficulty ramp up here, especially because the amount of creatures, the amount of ranged creatures we're going up against, is quite significant. So I need to be quite cautious. A lot of running away, especially on my stun meter. And there you can see an example where the stun meter. And I'm just doing that for educational purposes. I would never actually die, other than showing you what it would be like to die, of course, because you know what I'm like. I said, and this is a big problem we've got already. So this is a required task. The main quest line is to hit these pillars. And unfortunately, I need to defeat the monsters guarding the Rune of Power. A lot of those monsters appear to be carrying bows. And despite how much I talk about their mother, they will not hit me with that bow. They want to use those arrows. This could be quite an issue. We do have a workaround for this, eventually. But I need to be a much higher level to be able to equip that item. So I'm not really sure what to do here. This is actually quite unpleasant and stressful. What I don't want to have to do is grind here until I'm level 12. I think it's 12. It might even be 16. Yeah, I mean, it's just not going to be possible. Part of, I think, why Path of Exile is so frustrating. I mean, I'm level 5 now. Path of Exile gets quite frustrating because at the end game, it's just so wildly overcomplicated. There's so many different things, so many different items that work with different items. But in the early game, I should be able to problem solve my way through this. And if I can't, there might not be a solution other than just continue to level. So I'm just going to have to grind here and grind. Now this run took a very long time to complete anyway. This was one of the big reasons why this took so long. I spent quite a few hours, and I mean few hours, doing this. Getting shot at by creatures that I can't do much against. Getting pounded by the boys. You know, it must be the weekend. But yeah, padded leggings are not a sufficient reward for the very, very slow grind. One of the best quality of life things in Path of Exile is the fact you can search for mods. So here, just a casual search for thorns gives me this shield. 1 to 4. And it's got some stun threshold. So yeah, I mean, I'm a bit sarcastic. Annoyingly, my skill gem is attached to my old shield, so I have to now put that in the new shield, in the new ray shield skill. And we're cracking through the skill tree here, up to relentless there. Now there's some interesting ones there. Sturdy metal, 80% increased armor from body armor. We've got more stun threshold this side, but we're still a long way from being able to do damage to ranged attackers. I mean, I'm not really sure what to do. I honestly lost the will at this point. I thought, this is such a shame. Like, there's no way I can just spend out, because I was worried that even if I got to like level 11, maybe this area would give me no experience. I looked everywhere for like, what could I do? I'll get endurance there, hopefully. I mean, look, a lot of these are just insignificant at this point. I don't need extra skills. I'll pop the extra support gems in just in case. I went to a few different areas instead. Thankfully, I wasn't stuck in just that one area. There's a few other associated areas. Some fungal boys, some doggies. And this little scamp. And a witch who I thought I'd have to fight. But actually, I didn't, which was quite nice. I mean, you'd think if she lived there, she do something about that bed, because that is a really, really uncomfortable bed. Oh! She was there. And here we come up against one of the biggest banes of the run. Creatures with an energy shield. So, energy shield is one of the things that recharges if you take no damage after a certain period of time. And some bosses love to just do a little bit of song and dance. This one actually did quite a lot of damage. I think part of it was because I was an idiot and stood in the frost patches, which I should have done because I was taking damage over time. But nice to have a break from the Red Veil. And another hunt here as well, which again just helps break up some of the monotony of levelling. And Terrorcrawl the Unflinching there. Drops his leather vest. Lovely little leather vest. Nice to see a little doggy with a leather vest on. And look at these little scamps. Disgusting little scamp. I mean, he looks like a real redneck. I actually don't think these were creatures. I think they were just working class people. Just going about their business. Very aggressive though. And here's ultimately where we need to get through. But alas, sticks are in the way. Not the most epic hero story arc to be confounded by some shrubbery. But we've all got to start somewhere. And a few other little creatures here. When they're blue, they've got a few extra buffs to them, which is quite nice. And actually, I came across a little boss here, which was nice. Brambleghast. This game is just full of bosses, which is great fun, of course. I find the loot quite boring, like not particularly good quite often. The mechanics are always quite good, and some of these like just roaming optional bosses are really nice to come up against. Really breaks up what otherwise. And look, guys, I've just been playing Titan Quest, which I'll be honest has aged in terms of how much fun it is to play. But yeah, this game otherwise would be following a similar formula. So it's really nice when they just put in all these little like interesting boss encounters just to break it up. None of them too difficult. Some of them later on potentially very difficult, as we'll find out. But and then we're back. Fuck, in the Red Veil. Yeah, great. What am I supposed to do? I actually gave up at this point, and I was going to try and write an excuse as to why I couldn't do it. But then something happened. A hunt happened in the Red Veil, which I was like, oh well, at least it's not going to be so boring. I just got to level 8, so I was still well away from when I needed to get to. But I noticed, when I was following this along, that Delwyn, the Hunt Master, don't call him that to his face, he doesn't like creatures either. And although I should be attacking someone like Bow Creature, and I was like, oh, at least he's going to help out, I suddenly saw, he's in there somewhere, I promise. He looked quite chilled or something. He actually killed one of the archers, and I thought, hold on, if he can kill the archers, all I need to do is to get him over to this area. So let's just hit that. Let's try and lure him over and hope he doesn't kill that boss. I'm pretty certain as soon as that boss dies, then he's going to leave the hunt, leave the area or whatever. So a lot of like running around desperately hoping that he doesn't mind just doing what needs to be done. And here we go. And I can see he is actually doing it. I was elated at this point, lads. You have no idea. This guy potentially saved me hours and hours. Now look, it's not guaranteed at this point. I'm worried. But look, we've got the Runed Girdle. Who wouldn't be excited about receiving that? I was especially excited. Now, stress at this point. I need to like lure. Well, I need to try and kill the melee guys, and then I need to lure as many of these archer guys back to Delwyn, and the hope that he's still active. So I was worried. I was also worried that I had to do all 3 in one run, but he's still hanging around. The audio cues at least imply that he's still active in battle. So I'm not sure whether Archer Hero's gone or whether he's always active. But whatever was happening, I was very, very pleased. The annoyance was I couldn't necessarily get all of the archers to come at the same time. So here you can see I'm trying to pull the biggest pack I possibly can, but it was super, super stressful. And for whatever reason, maybe I lured enough of them or killed enough of them. This one just randomly activated. I still have no idea why, but very, very grateful. Thank you, gods of Path of Exile. And luckily the last one creates the Rust King. So we don't have to piss around at this point. with Delwyn and his will he won't he disappear before the archers are killed. Annoyingly, the Rust King decides to spawn with some archers as well, so that was really pleasant of him. And although he doesn't hit too hard, the archers are actually really like, they're just ticking up my stun bar too much. Now the Rust King doesn't have a shield, as in an energy shield, and when he does certain attacks, this one in particular, you can see 82 damage. Are you joking? It's happening. I was so excited at this point, as you can probably tell by my voice. But yeah, man, I was punching the air. This is incredible. And 6 to 10. 6 to 10. 7 to 9. Oh my god, it's ramping up. The damage has become obscene. We need to start making our way downtown. So it is quite slow getting through that skill tree. It's one of the frustrations I have with this game is it would always be nice if the experience built. Oh my god, that's such a good idea. Imagine the experience built. Oh, this is me smashing some pots, by the way, while I talk about this. But imagine as you gain experience, you like worked your way through like like liquid almost flowing through those pipes of the skill tree. And you could like turn off different parts of the pipes. That's a good idea, by the way. But anyway, they've done it in skill points. Don't blame them. It's probably a good way of doing it. And then we come up against some very unpleasant bosses. So Senior is one of 2 bosses we need to kill in this area. She tends to be like the magic-y one. Both of them are actually quite similar fights because they kind of have the other boss within them. But I'm learning some of the mechanics here. The first time I played through the game, I played it co-op with a friend. And it was great fun, but I don't think I really took in a lot of the bosses. I was playing minion build as well, which meant a lot of the time I was just staying out of trouble and not really concentrating. It was much easier on co-op as well. Even if one of us couldn't do loads of damage, the other one generally subsidised. A little bit of world building here as well. 2 little boys. I don't know enough of the backstory. Honestly, I just can't be bothered to listen to it these days. But Lachalan the Lost. He sounds like a 001 character. I actually lost the footage of the other fight there, but it was a melee guy. But that boss there, that woman, was a real pain, gotta say. That took me, that part, not to underestimate, but the amount of footage I've cut out of this is obscene. More obscene than Lachlan's arm and what he does with it at the weekend, which is why it's so muscly. But there's probably an hour and a half of footage I've cut out there because it's just not that interesting, me failing against certain bosses. And we make our way into a lovely little area. And actually, these guys are a real pain when I first run through, because they tend to like charge at you and hit you straight away, and they do decent damage. But man, once you got a shield, nothing. And this boss is cool. The Crowbell. This is up there as one of the coolest bosses. I mean, that might be debatable, but it's just a really cool design, and it's like a staged fight as well. So there's different stages to it. Now that seems to be an absolute staple of fights, and I don't hate anyone for doing that. I think it's a lot more fun. I think Dark Souls maybe takes it a bit too far. Some of them are just maybe too many stages at this point, but check out the damage there. I mean, he's taking 410 damage then, actually dishing it out. I never really understood at what point it gets past the threshold of you not being able to block it. There might be really obvious, but someone in the comments if you know, like, oh, if it does over a certain damage or certain types of attacks. But that huge bell it uses is just incredible. The reward is also insane. But every time it hits with that giant bell, it makes a massive dong. And you know how much I like massive dongs. Some jokes just write themselves. Maybe with me. Maybe with my childlike sense of humour, the jokes write themselves. But first massive dong. Whoever had massive dong on the bingo card, congrats. So Tyrael there, we found. An Infernal Cry. Now, this was potentially an option I had. To get past the Red Veil. I really didn't want to have to use it. I was actually pretty reluctant to use it just at all as a skill, because I kind of wanted this to be a Thorns only build, but it really sped up leveling, and that's kind of, I mean, I spent enough hours of my life doing this. I wasn't going to slow it down any further for the pedants, just so I could say it was definitely Thorns only. Its passive damage is the way I've kind of managed to accommodate my own need to do something that's not playing Path of Exile every single night. The King in the Mists here. Unfortunately, man, that shield is just brutal, so we're going to have to work our way into a different direction. Little sub-boss there. A bit here as well, and again there's another ranged guy who's preventing me from even being able to activate this altar. And that's the use of the Infernal Cry there, you can see. So it basically means that when the enemies die, they internally combust. The damage is not huge. I'm not speccing into fire to make it incredible. But finally we get to our first actual Thorns boost. 31 to 57 Thorns damage. Very decent at this point, I reckon. What we're relying upon really is creatures attacking frequently. So these like every now and then dish kind of decent hits. I mean, luckily the damage I'm doing is pretty decent. But these decrepit mercenaries, I mean, come on. At least this guy's got 2 weapons. I almost turned my back then. God, force of habit. Good God. But it's nice for them to take turns, like a kind of Jackie Chan movie. But yeah, the tomb gasp here is that everyone gasped that he actually got out of the tomb because it took so long doing everything. A lot of these fights were pretty bad. And look, there's a guy here. Looks like he's just resting. Must have just have a bit of a rest after he crashed into his house there, or parked. Una's home here. It's a pretty cool little spot. I really don't like the zoom in this game, I've got to say. It's much nicer in Diablo 2 when you can just zoom straight into the shot. And there I kind of skipped over the fact that there's something called a loot box. I mean, it would be funny if this game didn't have microtransactions, but it does so. And these fiery doggies, I'm surprised they're not causing more of a fire hazard. You know what I'm like with fire hazards in games. And this feels like a fire hazard, I'll be honest. A bit epic end there as I stumble around. Clearly I'm doing that on purpose, just for Hollywood effect. Dread grind. And there's me trying to be a bit clever. Got him down really low life. Then activated the hunt in the hopes I could just kill him really quickly and get the extra loot. But the hunt means they get their life full back. Because they know people like me play this game. Just a normal scene there. And let's take a moment with my chicken friend. He seems to be walking away from me, rude. I'm in the pumpkin patch. Again, more thorns. Working towards that thorns damage that leeches life. So we're getting a bit of thorns, bit of life leech. Once we get that skill on the next level, that's going to be very big. And we can do it right now with the book that we found. By handing in that loot. Vile Pact is an interesting... So that's life leech is instant. And there's actually a really nice life leech skill right next to it. Part of me thinks maybe do less damage but just survive. But we've got to get there first. Putting some points into dexterity, you'll see why. And a little strongbox. Strongboxes can be quite good fun. They can also be super, super dangerous. So it's just a huge pack of monsters that just descend upon you. And look at this, holding the door like an absolute champ. Of course, checking my stun meter. I definitely didn't go over my stun meter there. And edited that out. I think at this point, let's just run. This area is very cool. Looks awesome, I think. They've done a really, really great job environmentally here. Actually find a stun charm there. Charms are another mechanic. I mean, do they need more mechanics? It's death by mechanics in this game, really is. But that should help my stun. Or prevent my stun meter from causing issues. I don't fully understand it, if I'm honest, so bear with me. We'll learn together, or we won't learn. That's also an option. Oh, brutal. Brutal there. Can I play football with the head? you can a bit. The Executioner. Oh, God, that damage is not huge. He is taking damage. Getting bitch slapped here. Is this going to be the whole fight? Could be. He seems to miss with one of those blows, which is quite good. Stun meter is going up. Okay, I'm definitely taking a hit there. I don't want to get hit by that, I can tell already. That is not going to be worth it. Not a great fan of the fact that he's calling in these ads. Whoa! Look at the thorns damage there. Okay, I may have died, but that was a ridiculous amount of damage. 1700 damage already. Oh, look at that. I mean, look, it's a big hit. But that's 789 thorns damage we did. So we seem to be doing just a little over 100 a hit, which is nice. I've got to be careful about getting pounded in a group like this. There seems to be a mechanic, certainly If you get hit from behind, you just get hit. But if you get hit from the front, then you've got that. The shield does prevent the damage, but maybe the reason why these big hits are getting through is because they hit like all around at the same time. But in the end, he's got nothing on me. Oh, an orb of chance as well. Cool. And look at that bloody. I should probably get her down actually, rather than just admiring her husband's corpse. Love this artwork, by the way. Normally I wouldn't show a loading screen, but chef's kiss on some of these. And some of these environments are just incredible. I actually go back at this point and just check some of the other quests. It wasn't really worth it. Just a little rune there. Runes, of course, another mechanic that the game desperately needs. But you can put those into the sockets that you sometimes get with weapons. Oh, there's some interesting damage here. This is actually quite a challenging area, but the experience is very good. And we're up to level 15, which is fantastic. So strength, always worth getting basically 10 hit points every time. And this guy, incredible effort. But eventually he just gave up and lay down. And this guy, I'm not quite sure this aura is around him, but it looks like it might be dangerous. Oh damn, I'm not concentrating at all. Oh my god, okay. That is incredible. Death animation, by the way. You can see, I mean, in the same area here, I've already got half a level. And this guy was pretty tough. Part of an essence, because I don't have much in terms of essence. But this area, man, this was just incredible. I really loved it. It looks so good. Oh my god. Oh. Anyway. Does that ever get old? I wanted to talk a bit about that area, but instead let's talk about the real excitement, which is the fact that I can get rid of that old crown of thorns, which actually made me lose life every time I use the skill. But now I've got this incredible bad boy. So I bought this, of course, because you have to buy every good item in this game. Thorns can retaliate against... What's that? Thorns can retaliate against all hits. So it's a very, very decent overpowered. It cost me an exalted orb, I think, which is kind of the standard currency these days for trading almost every unique item. But along with many other decent bonuses, and the fact that it's a very high quality, and the fact it's got a socket, there is no mage now that can survive my onslaught. So we can go back and really dick up some of these guys who taught us some manners in the early game. And now you can see, yeah, I mean, when we are getting hit, it's pretty good. Now what's interesting is not every hit. Some, like, summon spells, all this kind of things, like pools of poison or blood or whatever it might be, don't always work. Don't always cause damage to the boss, should I say. And this reward is pretty fantastic. It gives us spirit. And it gives us a spirit gem as well, which is fantastic. We'll get a topaz charm. So that means that when we take lightning damage, it just boosts our resistances for a short time. And this tribute thing is kind of... It feels weird that they added so much into this game already. But look, let's get to the gem cutting of the skills. I mean, there's not much we can actually use here. Scavenging plating is an interesting one, but it only works when you break the enemy's armor. And because I'm not doing any attacks, it's going to be really difficult to do that. Arctic armor, however, which is very similar to the Diablo 2 version. So it requires some spirit just to maintain it. So you have to use that active spirit. And you can also use some additional support gems. Now it gives you some recommendations. You can actually choose from whichever one you want, which is, you know, gives you a huge amount of variability. But I know the one I probably want is Vitality. The additional reservation there is 20 spirit. Sorry if this is getting a bit complicated. Those that play Path of Exile know all this stuff already. But I've only got 30 spirit on my character. I'm going to need 30 for the skill and then 20 additional to use that Vitality aura, which basically increased my health. So we're saying goodbye to the spear. We're saying hello to the coercive rattling scepter of talent, which is weirdly enough my nickname. Very familiar weapon class for this, for me, because you can use this to get some more skelly boys. But what it does give me is a huge amount more spirit, and that spirit allows me to unlock, well, use Arctic armor, but also use some additional skills with it, including that Vitality. So we've got it activated, So weird that this is kind of the only way you can get vitality is by having another skill you can kind of attach it to. But between the two, so we've got armor, we've got some life heal now, and then the last skill I've just added in at the end there is glaciation. That just gives us a little bit of extra freeze build up. I don't think I'm ever going to freeze anything with this armor, but you never know. So now we are an absolute god of war. Are we? Yeah, actually, we're doing okay. Our life is regenerating relatively rapidly, as long as I don't stand in the wrong things. And let's go back, because I was laughing too much before. Oh! A secret path. Oh, and you can actually see into the distance as well. You can see where they kind of cut off. Oh, amazing, amazing. But this bit really reminds me of Dark Souls 2. So where you go up against the ruined sentinels. I can't exactly remember the area. I can't be bothered to look it up. But man, incredible. And these look so good. These like glowing pustules. Yeah, of course, because who wouldn't want those growing in your castle? Highlights the kind of corruption. And look at this statue. Slightly annoys me the statue isn't straight on with something there. Oh, look, I was just checking this guy out. And you can actually click on his orders. That's cool. Now this place, it's just winner after winner for like me just wanting to sit and be like, oh, let's have a look at this. You got the shield on the table. Look at this, like, oh, even the shadow on the pillars there, the characters on the pillars, and you can see there what looks like a giant mimic. But this is a great level design. This. Hold up. Look at that stairwell. Let's get a better view. Oh shit! Exploration coins there. Very welcome. But this wood paneling is fantastic. I've been to Hever Castle recently in the UK, and it was incredible for like the arches and vaulted ceilings, stuff like that. But that just looks incredible. I wish I got a better picture, but one of the rooms looks so similar to that with the kind of like stairwell and stuff. And look at this little bedroom. What is that? I'll zoom in for your benefit, but man, tell me if you know what the hell that was in there. And look at this, you can really see like the details in the books. Oh, okay, this is big. Let's get the rune chart up. So we've got Othilla, Separation, Fenu, Wealth, and looks like Issa maybe going down the middle. Standstill. Ice, Standstill. Oh man, okay. That's incredible, by the way. I don't exactly know how runes work, but I mean, those three are very telling of the limited story I understand. And what I loved is the fact these little like divots, and you can see the ground underneath. And I was like, why have they done that? Oh, it's just so you can see that you're really close to the ground level, so you know you're almost there. And look at this. Oh my god, that is brutal. Oh, it even gets the little leg at the end there. Reminds me a bit of Love, Death, Robots. If any of you have seen like the Cthulhu-inspired Love, Death, Robots. There's one by David Fincher, which is just incredible. I think the episode's called Bad Travelling. It is incredible, by the way. It is just watch it. Just watch it, guys. If you haven't seen it, well, if you've seen it, then you know. But that little creature really reminds me of the... Well, I won't ruin it, but there's a big creature in it. Man, it looks incredible. He seems a little bit cross. So we're getting a little bit of frosty build-up from him. We know that from the runes. We should have expected that, right? Separation and wealth. Well, hopefully we'll get some wealth at the end of this. But he is absolutely kicking his own arse in this one. Look at the damage. We're up to about 2,000 health. Okay, here we go. Should we be concerned at this point? I think we'll probably be okay. My worry with these ads is the stun build-up more than anything. Okay. Whoa, okay, we need to watch out for that. Very cool fight this, by the way. And his sword over there. I can't remember if you can actually target that sword. I think he's got a name as well. I wonder if you could get that as a unique item. Agnar. And he's requesting his wife there to release the beast. And she's like, no, I don't want to. I don't fully understand the story in this. I mean, it's not complicated, but it's a bit difficult when a game is so, like, they're so complicated anyway. And then, by the way, also try and follow this storyline. It's not complicated, guys, I know, but... Oh, dude. And that transformation is incredible. He's got that kind of no-face transformation. Oh, the damage! And that is what this build was built for. Now, I had to suffer through quite a lot more of this, like, gimmicky parts of the fight. This bit, not a huge fan of, to be honest. I find it a little bit annoying because it's not that difficult. I just wanted to do that attack as often as possible. And annoyingly, and this might be something we'll come up against more often, is enemies can stun themselves out of the damage they do. You see how much their stun bar comes up. And I think that almost prevents you doing too much damage in one go. And here he is, Tyrell comes down. We've done it. Well, not the whole game. But we've got past what I thought actually might be one of the hardest acts. We can at some point start using things like the Exalted Orb. I feel like I kind of owe myself at this point because I have spent one already. Oh, a nice little Omen Scepter as well. Might be an upgrade. A little bit of extra mana. It doesn't really help us out. But it's an improvement. We're not using the Scaly Warriors on that as well, so a little bit of extra spirit. That's Act 1 complete. 2 out of 5 difficulty. Not too difficult. It was quite miserable, I'll be honest, at certain points, but it got better. I'd say it was about as much fun as standing on Lego. Act 2 begins, and oh, this Wayfarer Stone looks so cool. It really reminds me of another thing I found. This is the gardens in... I'm not sponsored by Hever Castle, by the way. But they had like gardens with like what looked like waypoint stones, which I thought were really cool, so I took a few pictures. Much to my wife's pleasure, of course. My wife. Doggies, I've got nothing. That's a horrible circle of doggies. Dead doggies there, by the way. Probably one of the most graphic parts. I don't know why, but... Wrathbreaker here. He for some reason, feels Australian to me. Wrathbreaker. Maybe a bit of the wrath. Call me Wrathbreaker. Maybe it's the hair. Very, very interesting fight here. A lot of the doggies decided to wait. I think because he had me hemmed into the cliff edge there, they couldn't actually get a pathfind to me. And then, if you haven't seen this already, this is incredible. Probably one of the best towns, if not the best town ever in any ARPG. So not only is it mobile, which is super cool, as it trundles slowly through the desert, this is like the main hub area. And this is what we call a tryhard Maximus. And here's a little like map room, which looks awesome. And then you can see slaves. And what's cool is you're like, oh, it's pulled by slaves, and at the same time the character says slaves, and it's awesome. But that is super cool. I mean, not cool for them, actually probably hot for them. Anyway, let's get through the game. The Morden Quarry, not too difficult. Yeah, and this is what we like when creatures are quite like attack quite consistently. In melee, we have a great time of it. We've got to be really careful of that stun build up, which you can see I'm not concentrating on at all. Hopefully that would be as important now we have Val Pact, which means we can't use our life flasks anymore, but Life Leech, which we know we've put a few points into already, at least a few of those skill points. We know we've got that Thorns, which gives us Life Leech, so it looks like with a lot of these creatures we're not taking any damage. Is this broken? And again, that zoom really annoys me. I want to have a look at the bridge. It's kind of wobbling, which I think is a really nice little feature. Cheeky level up there. What I really liked is these guys normally throw these stones down. They threw them at such an angle that allowed me to just hide behind them. And they just completely lost where I was. But let's head up this life leech area and let's try and maximise that. There's one here. The last one is actually a really good one. I mean, the main node, which is 25%, isn't really beneficial. Because it's instant now, any nodes that make it faster isn't going to make instant any faster. And I was quite looking forward to this boss, because I felt like this to me is like the most, okay, this should be loads of small attacks with this flamethrower, so we should have a really good time with it. So I'm literally just going to stand here. And it is very good, maybe not quite as good as I wanted it to be. And then when the poison started, I was like, oh, this could actually be quite a difficult fight, depending on how it goes. That's very cool though. Does that like wild strike? I mean, the damage is very good. Hopefully this won't take too long. I am taking quite a lot of damage, but it's no drama. No drama, mate. And another Exalted Orb, which is good because actually I've got a lot of stuff I'm going to have to buy just to make this bearable. I've got a feeling this build is going to be very equipment heavy. We can keep cracking through that skill tree, getting more life leech. Nice little, there's some really nice doodads in the map. This area, by the way, looks incredible. This looks like, I mean, I know the game is in Unreal Engine 5, but this is Unreal Engine 5 all over. The lighting looks incredible. It just looks so realistic. Anyway. And this really cool little area here. This feels like this could be a Cthulhu-esque temple we're opening up. I'm a real Cthulhu fan, by the way. I absolutely love all of that stuff. All of that stuff. I sound like I know nothing about it, but yeah, absolutely love. I love Cthulhu. I hate Cthulhu. He terrifies me ultimately. But Barbala the Traitor here, which is very like a super cool boss. Actually, a lot of damage output as well. So I've got to be really careful. And this poison mist, I can see now emanating, is a mechanic I did not understand at the time. I was like, oh, I'll just sit here, regenerate all my health, and I'll be laughing. And suddenly my energy shield went. And suddenly my health starts dropping as well. I better quickly find what's going on here. Oh, it's fine, we found her. So again, just showcasing how you might die. I mean, I wouldn't normally die like that, but how one might die, right? But yeah, there's some of these mechanics, especially when you've got a smooth, small brain like me, then yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to. Nothing too challenging, but eventually I was able to not stand in the poison and overcame. Really cool, like all those seals around there. You only really realise it's covered with seals, I think, when they all like fade away like a Naruto trap. And lovely little area here, just the light coming through. I think when you look at it in close detail, it doesn't hold up super well at close detail, and by that I mean like, oh, the statues are a bit random. I mean, I can't expect everything to be like lore building. It might well be, right? But to me, I was like, it feels like some repeated assets. I mean, it looks amazing, right? But I like it when you zoom in and really get to see some of the detail. And this area was quite dangerous because these stone boys, these terracotta lads, were actually super tough. In terms of like the stun build-up, a lot of them had like maces. We call like a massive ball mace. And yeah, the stun build-up was incredible. But I completely missed this the first time I played, that you can see the caravan as you're making your way through, like opening up these gates. I'm sure that's obvious to everyone, but to me, it wasn't. I wasn't concentrating clearly. Oh, and a Chaos Orb. Chaos Orbs used to be like the de facto currency for trading, for like decent items anyway. Things would be worth Chaos Orbs. I don't feel like that's the same in this game. I think Exalted Orbs have taken that. And we've got Jamanra here, the Risen King. Every time I come up against a boss, especially if it's a non-optional one like this, I always get a bit concerned, because you never know. I mean, annoyingly, again, that little like lightning ball would be great if that actually did some damage to me, but I've got to make sure I get out of that radius. The damage was definitely significant. I think part of the problem is the damage is high, but I'm not getting a huge amount of attacks to be able to regenerate my health. So this part is actually quite good because I'm getting hit enough to regenerate my health. The stun bar becomes the new issue at this point. Thankfully with this boss, he decides to just fly off, which is a really good mechanic to be able to just fly off. Alright, so off to the next area. Some incredible bosses. Blue Band, he's not really a boss. He's very blue dabba-dee though. And look at this little area here. Some really cool like little areas. Just imagine chilling out here. There's a little bit of mess I made with some skelly parts there, which I apologise for. I think at this point I'm just going to keep pumping life leech. Whether we need the other node on the other side there, I'm not so sure. Thorns is looking okay, 48 to 76. We've got some like crit bonus. We can retaliate against all hits, of course, which is the big one. And this is actually one of my favourite fights. Which seems weird. It seems quite silly that it's my favourite, but I just really like the way you just come across this like, little pit, and this boss comes up, and it's, you know, just like new mechanics, and it's really, really enclosed in this small area as well. As soon as you walk too far out, the boss just resets. So lots of summons come in. I think at this point, actually, this might be pretty good use of the yeah, that combustion skill that I've got, which I can never remember the name of, which is really embarrassing. Infernal Cry. And here you've got to make sure you spot which of the entrances aren't blocked. I mean, I don't do that every time, I'll be honest. And it is quite frustrating. Again, boss with an energy shield. I feel like some of these bosses later on could be a real nightmare. But thankfully, I mean, I must have done this fight 8 or 9 times the first time I did her. But my minion build was getting absolutely wrecked. And one of the best rewards you can get is that book with 2 extra skill points. This is another, like, just super cool little find. Extremely difficult and stressful to try and get this to work, but I tried this guy a lot because I just didn't want to get beaten by a giant beetle. But he summons so many of these little scarabs. I mean, real like the Mummy Returns here. But every time you get too close, you just get absolutely stomped over. But what I worked out is he just stays slightly out of radius. He does like a little zip-like attack, like a laser attack. I mean, I'm just choosing to get hit here because I know, I know I'm alright. But yeah, awesome looking creature. I'm a huge fan of beetles generally, by the way. Both actually the band The Beatles, but also just generally beetles. Talking entomology. And etymology as well. Man, yeah, what are we learning today? Not much, not much. We're learning what I like. So I've searched for thorns. I can see where on the tree, where on this huge like map, constellation map I need to head to. So it looks like a relatively straight path we can take just straight up there, and then we can get some more thorns damage, which I think is going to be pretty important. And that's probably a stupid understatement and a really idiotic thing to say, but yeah, I'm going to be trying to get more thorns damage. Cool little world building. I really love this little statue. I'm not commenting on what body parts we might be able to see there. Just get your mind out of the gutter. Dread Eyes there ends up shooting himself just out of boredom. And we're getting some levels up. It's quite nice to see. I'm taking a little bit of a sideways route on the tree there, rather than going straight up, just so I can get that extra stun. And I buy myself Gorgirdle, which has got armor, which I really like, decent strength, which is extra health, but it's got that life regen per second. That's kind of what I thought actually might be worth stacking that. It does have a limitation, which is that my maximum defense can only be like 50%. My maximum armor, sorry. But my armor isn't currently over 50%, so it's not like I'm losing much, and we're doing like 30 life per second. Now whether that's going to be good enough or not, I don't know. But it is very good. Hopefully with the life leech we're getting from thorns, alongside the fact we can block, we should be laughing, right? And look at this guy. Oh, what a lump. He's very, very disappointed with his mother, I think, which is why he's locked her away. And this fight I wasn't super looking forward to. Seem to remember I found this quite difficult before. And the fact that he's attacking quite randomly, like in random directions, makes me think that he's trying to hit those braziers in the corner. Nailed it. Yeah, exactly, because that basically makes this fire, yeah, that we have to stand on. So I'm going to be stuck in the middle, having to reposition quite a lot. This was just a long old fight. There's a few of these. Nothing super difficult, and actually I could hang out in the lava. As long as he was attacking, I could hang out and heal through that quite comfortably. A lot of the rewards you get, and this is actually pretty cool, not the fact that there's a woman who's been injured, by the way. You get this horrible, like, dehydrated water goddess here, which we can set alight. Just pretty cool, like, world building this though. And great fun just smashing all of our favourite pots. God, and that's absolutely terrifying, the idea of you know, being imprisoned and dehydrated as like a water creature. But there we go. Nice little bit of extra regen there, and some lightning resistance, which is probably going to be quite important at some point. One of the things that this game does really well is actually forcing you to stack resistances for certain boss fights, and this is insane. I actually end up running back because I think it's probably best to get my back to the sarcophagus, and then I think Infernal Cry, that's it. Looks incredible. We just need one of them to die. Okay, I think they're going. Oh my god, that is incredible. And is about 10% of a level in one go. But that is just so cool. And there's not many times in this particular run that I'm going to be able to do something like that. So having an option to like chain explode is just super cool. I didn't use it all the time. I still felt a little bit cheaty. Although clearly it isn't right in this kind of a run, but oftentimes, I mean, at this point, I was maybe suffering a little bit of like run fatigue at this point. As you can see, like some of the decisions I make aren't necessarily like peak brain. I was running through a lot. When I found an area that was kind of more manageable, maybe just more manageable creatures, I'd go for it. Into the bone pits, which I think might be an area in the first game, but this awesome like aesthetic. The aesthetics of this game is just incredible, by the way. I really feel like Grinding Gear Games, the makers of this game, and the original, of course, just do such a good job of like building environments, like mechanics wise and environments, just incredible. I feel like there's some other parts of the games that might be missing, but they do it so well. It's just, I mean, like I'm kind of criticizing a 9 out of 10 game here. The few things I'd like to see more of, but now this fight, I don't remember it being too much of an issue the first time. Again, I was doing it in co-op, and when you can do damage, I'm already seeing one of the major issues is Ekbab, the ancient steed, is a pain in the arse to kill. It's taking a long time. Iktar, the Death Lord, has got an energy shield like no other. Oh no. So I'm just not taking enough. Maybe if I stand here, I should get hit by a few. I mean, I'm getting hit. But he's not really taking any damage. Oh no, see the shield's regenerating. I'm going to have to avoid it because I can't take too much damage. And even this skill. And this is a good example of where, you know, a boss skill doesn't technically attribute to them. And therefore, they don't take thorns damage when you get hit by it. And that huge orb in the middle is a good example of that. This bit's, I mean, my lightning resist needs to go up, definitely. At this point, I'm thinking this is probably impossible. I haven't done a single hit point of damage at this point. I've already spent about 5 or 6 minutes in this arena just killing that bony boy mastodon. And at this point, I'm thinking, just sit in the orb. Just sit in the orb and think about what you've done or not done. Filth eyes. That's you, that is. So let's just move on. The nice thing about this is there are actually a few other areas I can go to first. So maybe just having a think about it, I'm clearly going to need to have to up the thorns damage massively to be able to get through that energy shield. But we might be able to work out something else we can do. Oh, look at this cool little mountain here. Looks like Golem Dad. I think maybe this is the origin of Golem Dad. And here's where necromancers can come to practice. And these are absolutely useless, these walking Goliaths. They look really cool. Annoyingly, they do get continually resummoned, so they're not a great experience, of course, because they don't give any. But the fights here were actually pretty big. You get very easily overwhelmed. There's some really cool environments. I think like the aesthetic, and not, this is peak smooth brain. Maybe this is obvious, but I did not find this obvious, by the way. So why can I not put it in? But if I hover over, in the end you just have to hold down Alt. Of course you do. And the reward is not really worth it. Get some charm charges. There's no point getting mana from recovery because I don't use it. Oh, what a dodge. I spent a long time in that little area killing all these because I just felt like I needed to let off some steam. And what have I done here? The Titan Grotto spreads its stony legs for me. And I enter, I plunge in. Now these creatures before, I don't remember doing this. I remember them being quite tough. And they are part of the boss mechanic that's coming up. So it's like, what is going on? Are they bugged? But then I think I realised that I've just completely not realised how they work. So it almost looks like they work on kinetic energy. So if you pass through them, they get enough energy to explode. That was way past, went straight over my head the first time I was in this area. Some really, really like cool stuff here, and this sword like plunged into the back. Oh, what? Okay, and a little bit of cash as well. I didn't realise that. But that is pretty cool. Dread needles. slow. Very slow. That's it until he does that. Nice. Nice. Some guys were like, oh, it's just... A lot of the rare creatures, actually, some of them were really quite boring to fight. Just very, like, slow. It's much more fun when you can do a lot of damage. Zalmarath the Colossus is a very, very cool boss fight and really, like, cool little area. He looks awesome. He looks just like a like stone giant. Very, like, Dark Soulsian. I mean, it's pretty much the only thing I ever reference in these videos, other than Diablo, but... We're looking forward to, hopefully, a good attack, like something like this. It's only hitting once or twice. And a lot of these attacks look quite big and dangerous. And that one actually seemed to miss completely. I had to stand more in the middle. Yeah, it's only 250 damage. Maybe this one will hit me more than once. That's only 126 damage. Hopefully this laser... Okay, that's a bit better. Over 1,000 damage for that attack. I missed with that one as well. He's quite inaccurate, which is quite annoying. And this was the part of the fight that I was not looking forward to. His attacks on their own are actually pretty easy just to dodge. I can sit back, relax. That laser attack looks incredible and does almost nothing, but these guys are super dangerous. And plus getting hit by the boss's attacks at the same time as having to manage those was a real pain. Part of me thought I could stand in that and it might kill him straight away, but I didn't want to risk it after having already fought him for some minutes at this point. I think we can get through this through the old-fashioned, let's just get hit multiple times. There are some riskier moments, I'll be honest. In fact, I thought if I got hit by that sword then, that might be over. I thought even at the end here, I almost rolled. Well, I did roll almost to my death. But we did it. Unfortunately, that brings us back to the Black Rib Pit. And I'm still very concerned. So my tactic here was much like an Ornstein and Smo, again, another Dark Souls reference, when you have to fight in these like 2 boss arenas. Let's just maybe alternate who I try and attack first. If we kill Bony Boy first, it might change the way that Iktab reacts. I can't keep calling these names stupid. Let's just call him... And Deathlord is so cringe as well. This guy really, really annoying me at this point, as you can tell. And I'm hoping, look, phase 1, we might be able to get his energy shield down easier. Although the problem is we're just getting attacked by Ekbab, the ancient steed, quite a lot. And I can see my health getting absolutely wrecked. Yeah, this is actually tougher than I want it to be. Maybe it's a case of just getting a few more levels and seeing where we can get to. Maybe with a few more level ups we just might have to buy an item. I mean, I'm not sure what we're going to do. There is a jewel socket coming up. I say coming up, we got it. And preemptive to that jewel socket, I got this bad boy. Armageddon Solace. Not only does it have 9% life leech, 20% increased thorns damage. Oh, are you kidding me? I'm not kidding. Bought it. It was quite expensive. It was, I think it was an exalted orb. But we're up to 63 to 100 damage. Now I know that's not going to be enough. So I've got Dreadfist, bolstered mitts here. Huge thorns damage here. I've got actually a really good roll on these as well. It's got increased armor as well. There's a whole like crit hits inflicting pale. I have no idea what that means. I couldn't be bothered to like look into it. What it is more damage. 106 to 156 now. I'm going to socket that with some dexterity so I can use the boots. Some of these things I may not, but that's mainly so I can change my amulet. And I can replace my amulet now with some extra lightning resist, which is very nice. I'm conscious there's a few items here, like Bramblejack there, you can see we may not have seen. I might not even have introduced the boots properly, but I can't go through every item. It's just, it's too much churn. But look, the most important thing is a lightning resist is up there, right? 50% should be enough to be able to tank a lot more of this a lot easier. And we're doing a ludicrous amount more thorns damage than we were before. Ludicrous, I say. Yeah, about 100 maybe. But that should be quite significant. The most important thing here is just to see how much Iktab the Death Lord is taking in terms of damage before he regenerates. It's looking good, I'll be honest. We've probably got him down further. He's close. Yeah, okay, there we go. It's possible. At this point, it is possible. He has taken damage. Now, ideally, I'd rather the Ancient Steed died second, maybe even still. The thing is, he's just so relentless with his attacks, and the fact that there's nothing I can do about my melee thorns. He's going to die first. So let's explode him. Super satisfying. And at least we get this attack now. It does some damage. Not a huge amount, actually. And this is a pain, because during this attack, the shield's going to regenerate and we're back to square one. I don't know exactly how much health this guy's got, but I would say I've done enough damage to kill him maybe 400 times? Something like that? Yeah, so maybe a few million hit points I had to get through just because of the amount of the shield that he regenerated. This was hugely frustrating, but I knew it was possible. And when you get bits like this where you're like, oh, when you do get like a good chain in a row, man, it is incredible. Because you know you're making progress, but I was fatigued by the end of this. I would say it's a shame I did this in my Diablo 2 run. I took off the clock, so you don't realise how late sometimes I'm playing these games and judge me very harshly. And even now I'm like, we've done it, surely we've done it. Yeah, thank God. But that must have been half an hour for a fight. Yep. But we did it. That's the most important thing. Together, thanks for your help. But look, we got through it, and I can now whip out my giant horn and play with it for everyone to see. And that is a reward, friends. Nice progress. We're making it through. This has been really difficult already, and I'm hoping that's going to be the hardest of all the bosses. But, well, there's a lot more to get through before we got to the end of this act. So carving our way through yet more birdie boys. Very satisfying death animation from those guys. And this random reward, I found this on my first playthrough, just like a body hanging around, right? Reward's going to be pretty poor. What? 2 skill points for that? So easy to miss as well, but fantastic news for us. Strength? No, boys. Dexterity. There's a reason I'm allocating these points. A lot of the time it's just to hit break points for certain items. Because I'm such a good forward planner with these things. And we're here. We're at an actual thorns tree. And look at this emotional scene. Some glorious world building there. What happens when you fall asleep in the sun? So here we fight 2 further big boys. Hugin and wait, hold on. Mugin. It's Munin. And Hugin. Oh, I see. They've just like swapped the second syllable. First letter of the second syllable. I've been watching a lot of Devil's Plan, by the way, which is a Korean game show full of... if any of you guys have ever seen The Genius before, it's a very similar kind of format. Just lots of like puzzle games, stuff like that. So I'm just... everything now is a puzzle to me. Everything I see. And another one of those trials, it's a bit annoying. I think trials in this is really badly implemented, by the way. So for a build like mine, it's almost impossible to do because it's all about not taking damage. So I just really feel like the original Path of Exile had a much better implementation, where you could almost make the area, or the manor house, because you kind of started in the grounds and worked into the manor house in different areas. You could always make it as easy or difficult as you wanted, but of course the longer you stayed, the more the challenge became and all that kind of stuff. But it's a really nice way of doing it. And I really like this area generally. I mean, the experience has been really good here as well, because you can get them really clumped together. They do a lot of melee damage as well, which is great for me. But the area itself just looks super cool. Really reminds me of Doom, actually, like Mars. And look at this cheeky chap. Just hanging out. Is he going to do something when I hit this? I don't think I saw this on my first playthrough. I thought it might be something good. It isn't. Oh! Hello! Oh, there's 2 of them. Oh, they are quite scary. We're smashing through this tree now, boys. So thorns ignore armor. I mean, that is cool. Ideally, you want to get spiked armor. I might go up this right side. I mean, you might hate me for that. I'm not sure. The more you know about this game, the more you'll hate many of my decisions. But I think 25% might not be great compared to just flat damage. But that 50% is going to be really good to get to. And then we can wrap back around, I think. I didn't really remember this boss, I'll be honest. Jumanria there, just flying off again. What a lad. And who's this? Tall Gull? Oof, big hits. Unfortunately, it's a big hit, but only one hit. Oh, and he does hit like an absolute giant skeleton worm beast. Oh, that is disgusting, dude. Well, he's like, just, presumably there's like sicking out the bones from inside this huge pillar, which is a cool idea, but I'd rather he just did a laser attack and killed himself. This could take a long time. Whoa, okay, yeah, we need to be a bit more cautious. So I'm getting poisoned standing in that little swampy patch as well. Okay, we're on to stage 2, and pretty immediate. I think I got clipped by more than one of those little circles of pain there. Now, this boss, guys, was one of the worst things that's ever happened to me. And well, actually not much has really happened to me that's that bad. I've had a few nasty comments, but no, nothing that bad's ever happened. This was the worst thing, yeah. And I can imagine of all future tragedies that will ever happen to me. I can also see there's a bit of lag in the game, which didn't help, made me super nervous. But yeah, the guy could one-shot so easily, so I was maximum concentration for maybe half an hour, which isn't a huge amount of concentration, just to be clear. But it's, for me, for someone with such a smooth brain, it's a lot of power, a lot of energy. Just wistfully gazing after this fight into the cold. And that is a really, really cool creature, by the way. A lot more efficient than all of those malnourished slaves. And a much cooler general, like, dinosaur vibe to this caravan. I prefer it at this point. Unfortunately, it's got some real tryhards on here. But thankfully, not too tough. This first time I ever did this area, it was really, really tough. I was dying, or almost dying so often. The experience was great as well, so we've got just another level up. And we're up to 207 at the max, and we're one away now from that 25 or 50% armor ignoring, which I think is going to be quite important for this boss coming up. I'm getting battered around. Stun bar is going up, but actually the crowd is thinned before it's got to a super dangerous spot. And parts like this were really, really tough on my previous character, but this time, laughable. And we did actually manage to get, I had to like run around it a little bit, pretty much cover the whole area, but we're here. The saddle of the Dreadnought. And I don't know what they were doing with this guy, pin him down, but I'm sure he wasn't consenting. Nice bit of Doom music as well, by the sounds of it. I'm getting real, like, Ultimate Weapon vibes from Nausicaa, for those who like Studio Ghibli, which I love them at all of those movies. But yeah, I think Nausicaa might be my favourite of all of them. And yeah, the Ultimate Weapon, where it's not quite... for those that have seen it know, I won't put a picture on. Just watch the movie, man, it's so good. To me, it's like one of the early Studio Ghibli movies, but probably one of the best. We should get back to the game, because big things are happening. Now the damage here looks okay. That's a nasty attack, and again, I think it's just because it attacks from those different angles behind, that's why I'm taking damage. We have to endure another one of these parts of the fights. They absolutely love these in these fights, that hide behind something. And these guys, I'm thinking, actually, we can use those with Infernal Cry, and they can boom around me. But for whatever reason, absolutely trashed by them. Felt like I was the target then. Not quite sure what happened there. And just because I am a filthy rich boy, well, I'm not really, but I came back to this fight another day later, and in the meantime I did some trading and found this incredible shield, 31 to 45 thorns damage. The only issue I've got is it's got quite a sharp requirement. So I'm checking here if I desperately need that extra dexterity to wear the boots, and I don't, so I can switch the rune out. I have to put my skill gems back in. for whatever reason, and again, some of you guys will know this, I just do not. This has got 4 slots in the skill. I wonder if it's the item level. Maybe this has a much higher item level, and that's why I'm getting such a good, so many extra slots to put skills in. The problem is there aren't that many more skills I want to add to it. And annoyingly, I've got 2 raise shield skills. One I think on my off weapon, so I need to make sure I'm selecting the right one. So I actually drag and drop it just to make sure that that's definitely the right raise shield. Presumably if it was on my back, then it wouldn't let me be using the skill, but you never know. Early access. So let's get overpower. I mean, it's not really going to do much at this point. What else is there? I mean, in terms of recommendations, we've pretty much got everything there is. Break endure. I mean, none of this really. Energy barrier. I mean, that technically should work quite well. There's some that like expands, but it doesn't sound like from the description that it's actually going to increase the radius of the shield. 278 thorns damage. I mean, not that long ago we were getting excited about 100, and now we're up to almost 300. So the first part of this fight, I'm speeding this up slightly, much more efficient. Very comfortable. I have to get through these really boring parts. Not going to make the same mistake again. I think maybe it's just a perfect combination the last time of like skills hitting and creatures hitting at the same time. But actually this little lightning attack, one of those rare exceptions where that is actually classified as... Where's he scuttling off to? One of those rare exceptions where the boss skill, even though it's kind of far away from the boss, is actually doing damage. Incredibly cool, this. It's a shame in a way that it needs to like black out there. You can't just see your character like tumble down, but we're getting serious now. And I do not want to hang around in that whirlwind. Okay, I'm a bit worried this is going to take maybe longer than I wanted to. We're going to have all these little attacks going on. There must be a decent attack coming out. Here we go. Yes! Fantastic. Look at the damage. 16, 17. Wow! Oh, this is incredible. Oh my, I was so worried about this boss. Look at the damage. 51, 55. 67,000 until I roll out of it like an absolute idiot. But 67,000 damage. It's so nice, like struggling as hard as we did through this act and having such a triumphant victory at the end. He looks very, very sick. I hope it is over, love. Oh god. Lovely. Just took his hat off for him because he might have been too hot after all that exertion. Now this is the end of the act, really. What am I doing? Well, Babala? And I actually had some relics from Wild Run, and I thought, it's not really cheating because the relics are so bad, but it might just help me over the edge here. Like I've said before, the issue with these trials is I have that honour bar down the bottom, and once that depletes, you're out of there. You get kicked out. I've got a few different maps to try and get through, and a lot of them are just doing their best to deplete your honour. And your honour is just your health. So you can see that I've been clipped once. Not too much of an issue being clipped so small, but then we get to this little spot, and these guys, normally, this is one of the best rooms, because all you need to do is kill these 2 mages. I can't kill the mages, because they're not attacking me, they're summoning. So what do I need to do? Wait for enough creatures to come through, and all that time I'm taking honour damage, and of course, they've got energy shields that replenish, so I need to make sure there's a critical mass of creatures before I detonate. I'll be honest, it's not happening just yet. We need to think about this a little bit more. Act 2, completed. Difficulty, parts of it very difficult. Misery, extremely high misery factor. I'd liken it to maybe just being punched in the dick. Just a good, solid thump in the knob. And this is where the game... There are parts of Act 3 which feel a bit like concepts that weren't fully fleshed out yet. There are some great moments in it. I'm not saying it's not completely complete, but that's one of those spots where the point of interest is just a corpse on the ground. Of course, running into Act 3 with extreme enthusiasm and confidence, only to get flattened the first hunt we come up against. The plan was just to run in and grab this lovely basket, but Ornstein and Smo are in the way. Ramby's Mall. It's cool. I love these like little encounters. They are very cool. And actually the loot from these encounters can be really good. I'm quite fatigued at this point as I'm playing, so can't even be bothered to get out of the poison pool. I just think, oh, hopefully they'll do enough damage and kill themselves. It is a pure lazy man build, and I actually almost died there as well, which would have annoyed me. But an exalted orb, fantastic, because I'm cracking through my exalted orbs at this point. And we finally get to the kind of town area in Act 3, and it's time for some dinner. So we're going to... I'm not sure exactly what they're cooking. It looks like a... Is that a hoof? Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, well, he's not with us anymore. I think I might pass on dinner. I love the look of this well, by the way. Really, really cool aesthetic. It's like broken spring. Just looks so cool. And this is peak character art, by the way. Incredible. So I'm taking damage. It's borderline. I'm actually, because I'm getting hit so often, I'm regenerating quite a lot of life. But these gorilla boys, I'm not going to weigh in on the gorilla debate just yet. We all know what it is. 100 men versus a gorilla. We'll talk about it later. But they can definitely do a lot of stun. This fight was so boring. I was just like checking my equipment and stuff. And it's quite nice, I suppose. You can just chill out. But the game should be a lot faster than this, in my opinion. It's a shame because it really feels like they've got some... Like, I've got some pretty good equipment. For this point... Oh my god, have you seen this belt? Hold up. Wait a minute. Something, wait. That isn't good. I like this belt. The life regeneration is very good. It does have that limitation of like maximum physical damage reduction. But wow, we're up to 3-5. That is a very, very big damage increase. Very nice find. I take it back. Gorillas got some style. Little camp there. And I'm near big gorilla boss here. Well, we can start talking about gorillas because we know that's what we want to be doing. So I'm being really, really careful not to trigger this fight. Accidentally shield bashed them there. That annoys two of them. And who turns up? Gorilla Boy. The mighty Silver Fist. Incredible. Actually, I have to dodge that, definitely. Now, I don't really want to be fighting a rare and a boss at the same time. It's nice that he's a roaming boss. I think that's such a cool idea in this game. Having like really big environments. Like open world, a bit more like Diablo. I mean, Diablo 4, sorry, didn't really do it brilliantly. And unfortunately, they were too much for me. But the checkpoint pops me right there. You see how much stun this guy builds up. I mean, he's not attacking super frequently. I'm going to have to dodge there. Let it go, kind of reset itself. You can see, oh, one of those hits probably 65% of the entire stun bar in one hit. So I've really, really got to be careful. And it is another one of everyone's favourites. Super, super slow fights. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about how it's a shame that they've implemented all this equipment for thorns, like parts of the skill tree that are thorns based. I don't think I'm doing anything like completely mad, like I'm really missing something quite clear. I mean, of course, I'd be doing more damage if I had natural attack skill as well. Lovely reward that, by the way. And I realise this is actually just a magic item, so let's whack an orb on it, which I never use, and get a little bit of fire resistance, which is very nice. Let's put a desert rune on that as well, because we don't need that, so we can actually pump up our fire resistance. Every time you get to a new act in this game, the same thing that happened. We've got a little ratty friend while I talk about this, but every act you get to, your resistances, your max resistances kind of go down. That's not correct. Your resistances get reduced, a bit like a normal Nightmare Hell kind of scenario in Diablo 2. Scum Chewer, lovely. Wonder how he got that name. And these boys were really, really annoying. And you can see the strong box in the top left there, throwing fireballs at me. So I have to dodge the fireballs so as not to die. But this guy was attacking so slowly. Every time we went to attack, I had to dodge out of the way. It's a lovely looking area here. It's actually really cool. I tell you what, this really reminds me of Made in Abyss. I don't know if you guys have ever watched that, but like Nanachi, is it? A little hideaway. I'll put a picture up. But yeah, it reminds me of like the inside of that. Just like cool little bits and pieces that have kind of like been recovered from places. I watched Made in Abyss around the same time as playing Kingdom Death Monster, which is a board game. And the two of them kind of melded together, like the white lion fight in Kingdom Death Monster and the Orb Weaver. Yeah, just the idea of them both kind of like molded really well together, and there's a period in my life where they're both really vivid. And actually the reward for just going to that woman's room was actually really good. So the 25% more stun threshold, which is perfect for this build, right? Just a little thing we found out when I did this with my friend is that you can roll through the canal you have to drain to get to the other side, but it won't let you get through, annoyingly. There's a lovely aesthetic to this little place. And you can see here I've worked my way to the left side of this tree. There's a really good thorn tree just to the side. I need to get through these resists, and actually the one we're getting here is a really good one, +5 to all resists. Like a fantastic part of the skill tree to get to. Resists are looking pretty good now. Cold resist, probably shouldn't talk about that. We're going to hope we're not going to come up against a cold boss. I can't really remember that many bosses that do just pure cold. The first one, of course. But that's about it. And the Noxious Behemoth. That's just a nice little boss. Reminds me a lot of what another Studio Ghibli. What is it? The Spirit of the Forest? I mean, definitely. Now I've got the picture up. Yeah, a lot like the Spirit of the Forest, right? From Princess Mononoke. He's got fungus. Some comment about the same fungus from back home. You shouldn't really be telling people what kind of fungus you've got in your home. Nice cheeky level up. It's annoying. I tell you what, it is annoying that it takes so long to get through. I've got 2 more points before I get anything of any interest whatsoever. But we'll get there, and then there's some really interesting parts of this. Thorns and blocking, retaliation, revenge. And this is a big one. Physical thorns damage equal to a percentage of your body armor. And this boss is very, very cool. That Chimera, she reminds me of, I mean, I'm jumping from one reference to another here, but Dragon's Dogma. Wow! Fantastic. Okay. Clearly, this is going to be an absolute dream of a fight. Where's he gone? Okay, that's a bit annoying. I'm hoping he's going to land at some point. Now, I can't remember. He does land, okay. I was worried he's going to, like, sit up on those pillars and you have to destroy them. A little bit of damage there, not very much. We want that attack again. Not that one. We want his breath attack. I think it might be cold as well. It's strange because our cold resistance... No, not over there. Oh, that's still like 12k damage. Very nice. Yeah, I did get quite concerned at this point that he was just going to stay up there. And I somehow had to destroy the pillar, which was, of course, impossible. But thankfully, if you get to the other side of the arena, like out of range, he does end up getting a bit annoyed and comes down and lands. That's what we want to see. A few more of those. And if I stood in the right position, I save 20,000 damage. And a Chaos Orb as well. Not really sure what to use those for, I'll be honest. I don't know if they're they have a value in Exalted Orbs, or whether I'm just being an idiot. And they are still prime currency. And I've been quite a barren run. I mean, I've found a lot of uniques by trading, right? But one of the few actual uniques I found during this run, and it is, of course, completely useless. But it's interesting just to find it. There's a shared charges with allies in your presence. I'm not really sure how that's going to work. And I'm not an idiot. I wouldn't have run around the entire map being like, where do I go next? Only to find that it's right next to the boss fight that I was just in. I wouldn't have done that. But what I did get, because I definitely didn't do that, what I did get instead is just to level up. Dread Shriek here, and some lethal damage there. Very, very lucky to survive. And I didn't. Whatever that like blood attack was, maybe it's chaos damage. Incredible. And we can actually switch out. So I've got that 20% lightning resist ring. We're up to 78% fire now. The reason why I'm stacking fire is because of this lizard boy. Pure lizard man action now. It reminds me of Warhammer Lizard Man anyway. But this guy, I must have done this with my friend 15 times. We just could not beat him at all. He was so tough. But this time round, it seems like I'm having a much easier time of it. Blocking some of the bigger attacks. He does have some very, very big boy swings. that annoys me slightly, that I can't get hit by more of that attack. And I love the fact that the arena gets like lit up as he's using his fire attacks. Fire resist is very high. So we've got 78 fire resist, 75 is the normal max. We've got a few extra points on that tree on the way to the thorns that gives us max beyond like maximum fire resist. Still need to be really careful though. Oh, and this looks like it's got a good opportunity. Yeah, fantastic. Annoyingly, I couldn't kill him and it went on for another minute or so. But the flame core, fantastic item. Plus 10% fire resist on top of what we've already got. I mean, you can see how much further we can get there, but 78 is huge. This is like a cool little zone. It's nice that they like mix it up slightly. It's got a really nice like dark dungeon aesthetic. But it completely changes when you get to the generators, which to me look incredible. Just look at this. Wow, that looks so cool. It's got that like background Baldur's Gate 2 feel to it. How many more game references can I get in one video, do you reckon? Probably a few more. Yeah, I'm definitely going to show that again. It looks incredible. And I can see when you look into the detail how they've like built it up from maybe different skill things, but it looks really good. I zippity zooed back here using the waypoint like a clever boy. I was like, is there another generator? 3? So I did a bit of leveling, then I realised that it takes a little time for the energy to zip round. I think at this point we don't really need any intelligence or dexterity, we'll just go pure strength. And I found the corruption altar. Now, apologies for what's about to happen. I'm sure this is like a once in a game, don't mess this up, use it on something that's really good because you might get something incredible. But I was too worried about corrupting something and ruining it. So I did it on my amulet, which feels like an absolute waste. It gave me plus 10 to intelligence, so it was a complete waste. But it didn't destroy it, that's the main thing. But that is a risk of corruption, I know from the first game. First hand. Zicotl, whatever his name is. Clearly a generic Aztec nonsense boss will cream through this guy with absolute ease. Okay, he hits pretty hard. I can see an issue with the energy shield already. I'm sure that's not going to be a problem when he uses some of his other attacks. His other attacks hit pretty hard, I've got to say. I can see a little bit of lightning damage coming through. Okay, wow. Okay. Calm down, Jamal. Okay, let's try that again with some lightning resist. I can't get a huge amount of lightning resist. I just don't have the equipment. I get up to about 50%, and already it's made quite a decent difference, the amount of damage I'm taking. I'm hoping if I stand in this... see, just an example of how some of those ambient skills the boss can create. Some of them good for thorns, some of them not so good. Wow, I mean, I need to get hit by that. And even though I'm getting hit, I'm not doing more than half his shield. Okay, this could be a run ender. No, not that skill. So I endure this for some time. Eventually I'm thinking I'm going to do some damage to him, right? There'll be a combination of skills eventually. That means he's going to start taking some damage. I can kind of see how his actual health is, but whatever I did, I was taking so much damage trying to get it to work. And I knew it was a bit of a foregone conclusion at this point. So I did the only honourable thing and electrocuted my balls. For whatever reason, I decided to do one of the Trials of Chaos, which was a bit of fun, completely pointless. There was absolutely no chance of me completing it, especially with recently electrified balls. I just wasn't in the right mindset. But what I did work out is because my smooth brain for just a moment creased together, I could see it actually tells you on the trial, this is the kind of original trial you're supposed to do, it tells you what the trials are on your journey. So all I need to do was just avoid the ritual trial. Now, for those of you who have endured me making that oversight the first time, I applaud your ability to forgive me. I did make a massive error, which was thinking, oh, I'll just get a minor boon and heal myself. A minor affliction. And that minor affliction was the fact that I've got no armour, which might not be the best affliction to get for a character who's relying upon his defences. But finally, Rattle Cage, the Earthbreaker. I was a bit concerned because this guy actually hits quite hard, and one of the concerns is he can bash through most armour. So you can see how much damage he took there, a little bit, how much damage I took, quite a lot more. But thankfully this little volcano things that he summons can actually do a little bit of chip damage to him. So as long as I stay out of the way, unlike that of his big boy attacks, maybe the best thing to do would be lure him up to the top of the arena and then run back down and hope this volcano does enough chip damage. I mean, each time the volcano's hitting me, it's quite a few hundred damage he's taking. 334 or so, which is pretty good. Like 257 that time. If I can stand here for long enough, we can get a few thousand damage out there. It's just been given the time to do it, and this has now become an incredible quadruple volcano area. The game is quite forgiving with this boss. It does tell you when moves are coming. It's just like, get out of the way, and then you kind of run out of the way. And what an awesome way for it to die as well. In many ways, I wish that when it died and exploded, it did give you a chance of dying there, because that would be a real FU. Interesting ring this as well. Chaos resistance is always quite nice, just in case, but actually very decent stats. And now I have that awful dilemma of Titan, Warbringer, or Smith of Katara. So Titan, quite obviously, makes me a big chunky boy, which probably is preferable. Warbringer didn't seem to be like buffing allies, didn't like that one at all. Smith of Katara, so my friend is actually doing that, and it is a really, really interesting kind of subclass, super interesting the way it works, but it doesn't really have any benefit to us. But this Titan, none of this is perfect, I'll be honest, but it's got some decent armor, and it's got some decent life options within that skill tree. So, and the rewards from doing this were absolutely terrible as well. And there's a decent little armor upgrade there. I think maybe 13. It's the 13 to 23 thorns damage, which is, I think, the most compelling. And it does have that extra rune slot. Also, importantly, it's got 30 to spirit, which means we can maybe switch out our primary weapon now and still be able to use a lot of our auras, or even keep it and just stack loads of auras together. So we're going to go for stone skin. There's a reason why we want to pump up our body armor. I found this ring, 27 fire resist, and it's got max life, and it's got lightning resist, and it's only a magic item. That is a very, very decent find. Let's whack that in here. Let's put that somewhere down here. Orb of chance. What do we want? Upgrades a magic item to a rare item using a regal orb. I think it's worth it. What? Okay, that's really good. Wow, incredible. Annoyingly, we don't really need that much fire resist, but we can use that as one of the rings, and then we can use whatever we want for the other ring. Actually have that lightning ring on. Incredible opportunity here to explode. Loads of little fun mozzie boys. Now this boss can give you a little bit of a headache. It feels a lot like an Act 1 boss in terms of its simplicity. But he gave me a really, really tough time the first few times I tried him. So I've come back now. I'm much stronger, more powerful. Just more masculine at this point. And it's overwhelming, this swamp boy. An exalted orb as well, which is good. We're probably going to need the equipment for the end. I didn't find this in my first run through. A little Juriel's girlfriend. And the aesthetics of this area is incredible. And this is pure. If you hadn't noticed already, those Diablo 2 fans among you, then it's very much an homage to Diablo at this point. Diablo 2, should I say. So Act 3 is, if only these creatures were half the size, this would be pure fetish, kind of jungle, flare jungle kind of village aesthetic. And looks awesome with that kind of flaming huts there. 270 to 378. Get 16% more thorns there. Up to 407. Yeah, it's scaling up very, very nicely. So 18 to 31 extra damage there from that. Already this looks like a complete meme of a fight. And again, I'm not loving the fact there's an energy shield. Probably my biggest weakness. As long as I can take... If we can see some damage getting taken, I'm happy. Even if the energy shield comes back. I debated at this point with best place to stand. I was a bit worried that actually if I got hit by this too often it would be quite lethal. But the damage isn't huge. And I worked out probably actually better to sit in the middle. You just get hit a lot more often. But finally on landing, the idea was trying to get hit. Annoyingly, this flame attack didn't really seem to hit me more than once, which was a shame. And even those like huge fire waves, things like that, is very, very difficult to get hit. I was ended up kind of like chasing it more often than not. And here you can see, I only get hit once, but it's enough. And such a cool little death there. I'm not quite sure what's going on. But very, very decent reward there. 30 to spirit. I think let's just chuck that old shield on the ground. We're not going to need that. A disgusting weapon. And we're going to whack on, because we've got this extra spirit now, some scavenge plating. So if I break the enemy, I will break you. Then yeah, I actually find thorn skin here, which might be a lot better. 40% increased damage when it's one sweaty trade later. I have to do it. 292 to 407. We'll get thorn skin. And let's put that on the Arctic armor, because we know that's going to be up all the time, and we don't need that other one at all. That frost build up. Okay, big 55 to 76. Maybe not as big as I thought it would be in terms of an increase, but still very nice. And I've also picked up Time of Need. So this is a buff that gives you just life recovery intermittently, like every 10 seconds, 11 seconds or so, you get a quick heal. Back to the boss. Just before we do the boss, I'm thinking might be worth just respecking. The block is nice. It didn't really work quite the way I'd hoped. It's like putting... I tried to explain this to someone when it came to like crit. If you get like plus 5% chance to crit, then actually it just improves your current percentage chance to hit by 5%. And this is going to be important to see if... Okay, damage. I saw 145. He's going to heal back. All that matters now is that I can survive this fight for 2 hours if you can take 145 damage every minute. What I didn't realise, it would be closer to 2 days. So the only way I can really express the pain is through the power of poetry, I think. I've suffered the weight of my shield, the guts of 1,000 souls, rainy highlands and broken houses, bloody boots in muddy holes. Desert without features, a genocide of creatures, sweaty jungle temples. This is taking fucking ages. Very powerful stuff there, I'm sure you'll agree. Anyway. And from one wetland to another, we're in the waterway section. This is actually a really nice map, really cool map, really nice idea. It's like little boss fight going on. Just some cool creatures. But anyway, get through the waterways pretty quickly. Trying to speed through this now. And this is an interesting mechanic. So this is almost like an timed death, but you get caught in these little orbs. And all of a sudden, ye be drowned. I ended up buying the Belly of the Beast. It's kind of a classic item from the original game. Unfortunately, I don't have the stats to use it quite yet. I need a little bit more dexterity. So what are we going to do to get through that? Well, we're going to rune our way through it. Fire resistance? Yeah, we don't need that anymore. There's a 30 to stun threshold on the helmet as well. I'm not sure how much that's really helping at this point. But one of those alone is enough. And I can adorn the Belly of the Beast. So grey armour, which is going to be really important for the thorns that it reflects. Max life huge, stun threshold huge, life recovery, who cares man. And it's even got thorns as well. It's a pretty decent roll I've got here as well. It's a really, really cool looking item. But the best thing about it is it's boosting my thorns damage and it's giving me all the stats I really want. And that Tell-Me armour is going to be very important for one of the nodes we'll be getting later on the skill tree, which is going to be giving us thorns damage based on a proportion of our body armour, which in this instance is big boy numbers. And I love this little feature here, a little floppy fishy. We've drained the swamp, as Trump would say. And what's left behind? Some fishies on the ground. Now, cool little area here. I didn't realise at the time it was optional. But really, really cool aesthetic to this area. And it's worth showing off the boss at the end, because it is It's up there, guys. In challenge, it's up there. But it's a really, really cool, just generally cool aesthetic to the place. It's like Forge, but the best thing about it, and I love the fact they're doing more stuff like this, you can follow the magma, as you could with a caravan, like follow it through the level. It's incredible, really, really cool. The only problem is, I couldn't follow it because I kept getting stuck. It's actually a very, very difficult area to maneuver, even when you're trying to avoid a lot. And we're on the River of Molten Fortune. You'd assume when this guy dies that he'd drop a huge amount of loot. But the first challenge is killing him. And immediately, I can tell what the mechanic is. And it's not going to be a good one for us. Now, I don't know how long this channel way is, this storm drain is. I'll tell you what, it's not as big as you want. And that little, like, spike, I don't know what you need to do in order to get him to do that little, like, spike attack. Where it, like, vibrates the spike. But that is what we want. If he did that 4 or 5 times, we'd be laughing. But getting him to do it consistently is impossible. And what he loves doing is being a little pussy and running back into his lava land. And then, like, kicking the lava. It looks really stupid. But I was hoping at this point maybe something will break or somewhere will open up. No, it's just a timed boss fight. I can imagine some people hating that fight. But I love the fact they're putting stuff like that in the game. Because it makes you have to think in order to try and beat it. And I get this crackling barrier. Thinking a little bit of thorns might help. Nothing helped. This boss is insanely tough. And this was the best run I had. I had a really interesting run as well. Early access, guys, leave it alone. But an essence, like, was in the boss fight. So I ended up summoning this, like, rare boss at the same time. I hoped that for whatever reason, he might be able to help me kill the boss somehow. Who knows how. He did not help. He hindered. Now we're getting quite close to the end of the video now. And I'll let you know, spoiler, I wasn't able to go back and kill that guy. So if any of you got any ideas about how to overcome him using this build, then please let me know. So we've got revenge now, and I'm thinking, actually, if we get sturdy metal, one of the earlier nodes, which increases your body armor by 80%, maybe they'll stack with one another and we can get even more thorns just from stacking the high belly, the beast body armor we've got. Again, gorgeous aesthetic. This reminds me a lot of the does anything not remind me of something? Annoyingly, when I did get the what I thought would be an incredible synergy, big brain synergy, it didn't do anything. But this whole aesthetic really reminds me of like the Mushroom Kingdom in Warcraft 2. Now, you didn't think that was coming when I said Mushroom Kingdom, did you? But yeah, the expansion, the Dark Portal expansion, that like Mushroom Land. I'm sure it's got our own name now, but I mean, I've stopped following the lore of Warcraft since Warcraft 2, which was the best of all the Warcraft games. I did play WoW, of course, and I played Classic WoW, and I did really enjoy that. I actually did the something I really recommend if you guys have ever played WoW before, but can't really be bothered to go through the whole like rigmarole of going through loads of expansions. I just went through a lot of the content, the old expansions. Like the newest expansion is the one that you need to pay for, but all the other ones are basically free with your subscription. So I went through all the old bosses and the old dungeons just solo with my character, and it was really, really good fun for me. I thought I'd cook up a little broth here. It's not looking the best colour, but I thought, oh, this is well worth the mushroom farming reward. It definitely wasn't. And this is my second attempt at the second set of trials in the hopes to get some more points, but the combination of skills there, it is so difficult to survive with the build that I've got. Another really interesting mechanic here, so the closer you get to the centre of this particular area, the more damage you take. That's that like fire aura around it. But the most exciting part was the boss at the end, who I knew would be absolutely brilliant fun. Now this was one of the first fights in my original run through with my minions, which took absolutely ages. And for whatever reason, my friend and I disconnected, and we ended up having to do the fight separately. He did it in about 4 minutes. I did it in about half an hour. It took about 20 minutes to half an hour. It was brutal, especially when I knew he was kind of carrying on. But already I can see there's some skills here which really work. And this is the one I'm thinking, this could be good. And it's incredible. 70,000 damage. And the only thing, I'm going to show it again, the only thing that stopped him was his stun. Stops him from attacking. There were more projectiles that would have hit me otherwise. But just this is super satisfying. It's like their build was designed to kill this boss, and wow, is that exciting. Especially since I spent, 25 minutes on this boss before. Super satisfaction. And it feels like the culmination of a lot of hard work and effort at this point. I mean, I'm well over 20 hours at this point into this run. And at this point, I've kind of completed the most obvious parts, or the parts that I want to, like the most obvious thorns parts. Oh, my voice just broke. Am I a man? Am I a man now, Daddy?
Not yet, son.
Going slightly mad, I think, as you might be able to tell. This is actually as far as I got with any character up to this boss. I'd managed to completely gimp my minions build, and even though I bought a few items, nothing was doing it. Nothing. The Skelly boys were not working out. So this was kind of as far as I'd managed to get to this boss arena. Brilliant stuff there. It's a shame that's not an option in every cutscene, just to thump the person talking. What a great game that would be. So Viper, I can see already we've got an energy shield, but this looks alright. It's a really interesting like arena to fight in here. Very cool. The whole like Aztec aesthetic that was a big part of one of the main seasons of Path of Exile. One of the seasons that I, probably contributed the most to the like 300 hours or so that I've got in Path of Exile in the Steam version. Again, I probably put another 300 hours into it before it got put on Steam. But the Aztec expansion was a big one for me. It was very cool, general aesthetic, and luckily I know, some of the characters in this, like Alva, for instance, is very familiar from that expansion. Now this boss, although the arena gets pretty tight at points, and I'm pretty scared, especially now because I'm almost at the end of the fight, and I don't want to lose just to that little last bit. I'm really weird that the some of these kind of come alive at the end and try and fight you, but not all of them. But I feel like we're coming up to the apex at this point, and aesthetically, because this is all new to me at this point, this looks absolutely awesome. And I assumed here we get a lot of like recycled creatures and stuff like that, but all of these guys look pretty unique. Like some of their moves and stuff, I thought, oh, they might be recycling like animations from other characters, but there's unique moves with all of them. And at this point, I'm kind of struggling with what to put my points into. And I think block would be fantastic. Let's stack block, but it doesn't work quite the way I hope. I can't really like up the block enough. A lot of it's just based on your shield, unfortunately. And this was maybe silly, but I was slightly overconfident here. I thought with the right infernal cry, we might be able to clean up a lot of these, and the experience is coming thick and fast. I had this giant heart in my backpack. I've been carrying for some time. I think I found it like pre the last boss. So it's nice to be able to reap the reward, and actually fantastic reward as well, 2 skill points. So decisions now. And I've ended up going down and across here into this like block part, thinking that I can stack block. But actually, I'm only, even with all those points, I've only really gone up about 10 points above the 25% that my shield has naturally. So I'm a little bit disappointed. But it's still, like 10% block is still incredible. You can see here putting on like a decent shield, or a decent block chance shield, put that block up to over 50%. And that's where we're starting to get into, oh, look at all these guys. Oh, everyone, that's where everyone sleeps, and everyone must be asleep. Yeah, that's it, kids. Yeah, pretty brutal scenes at the top. I mean, yeah, very cool. If not a bit extreme. There is a little bit of, like, maybe try-hard shock value in this, but some of it's done really well, so... I think my favourite part being the guy who gets... the guy who falls off the hangman's noose. That had me in absolute tears. More than once, by the way. Yeah, even now. So I didn't realise this like the area just going through is like it is the last area in the game. That's why it's super tough. So I ended up running through a lot of it. I mean, I must have realised from the amount I've been concentrating on the story that this is getting pretty near to the end. I didn't. But I'm seeing some good moves here, and I can see some decent damage coming out, so mainly at this point I'm just looking at the arena and trying to work out what kind of gimmick is going to come out. But wow, look at the damage here. 49,000 damage. We're getting up there to max, the max we've seen so far. And I'm thinking this is going to be an absolute joke of a fight if this carries on. It doesn't carry on. Instead we get Dr. Robotnik. I mean, it looks incredible, and I love it when the game zooms out like this. So you can really get like a big perspective. And I'm confident until I get hit with that. Oh my god. Again, another one of those attacks that hits from kind of either side of my shield, so... And I probably want to get hit with some of this. I'm just hanging back at this point because I really want to make sure I get my health back into a better position. Because I just don't know what's coming at this point, but... A few good melee hits here actually managed to heal me up quite nicely. I've just got to avoid those very, very big hits that hit from this little cheeky guy. You can see there I do actually trigger something in the arena that managed to set off some nonsense mechanic I just need to avoid. But I need to avoid that other side of the arena as well because I've got that little robot boy there trying to bully me. Long fight this. Very, very significant health pool. And a lot of like all these like little attacks coming from these flying robots. None of these could trigger my thorns to actually kill the boss. That's the bit, and I can see here, okay, that lingers now very, very comfortably. And I can see here this would be an absolute pain for someone who was struggling in this fight to try and avoid these little bolts, but for me this is fantastic. I can see the damage ramping up. Yeah, we had a decent like 7,000 damage there in a row. And yeah, look, we're in it, we're in it. Once we get into those little huge beams, again here, if I can get there in time. This was a super, super clutch. So, so stressful that. Especially when we got this far through the fight. I mean, I'm well into the fight at this point. Good 10 minutes or so in, the last thing I want to do is make a mistake like getting hit like that, exactly like that, over and over again. Trying my best to avoid as many of these arena traps as possible. But I know, I'm confident at this point. Even getting hit with this, I'm confident. My fire resist is good enough. And this was an absolute dream to see this. And then I realised, it's not the attack I wanted. It's this attack. Can we get out in time? Of course we can. No concerns whatsoever. I'm just really, really desperate to do an attack that I can block. That might work. Is it enough? We're not quite there yet. Please. This is good. Oh, it's not lingering. And again, he's got a sliver left. Please, what is he even doing now? What is this? Okay, this is good. This might be perfect. Yes, and a good melee hit as well. This might be a bit anticlimactic. We've done it. It's over. It's over, thank God. Wow. What a journey. What a journey, guys. The sacrifice. Exactly right, dude. We've all sacrificed for this. That's it. Act 3 complete. Thank God. Difficulty 3, okay. Misery, peak misery. I'd say probably on par with being the first of a 100-man team to attack a gorilla in unarmed combat. No one wants to be the first one. We want to be like in the last 10. I don't even know where to go at the end of this run, to be honest. I ended up accidentally clicking myself back to the riverbank. I say back to the riverbank. This is now on the next difficulty level. Yep, that's right. I'd have to do this all again just to get to the maps. This took 26 hours, 43 minutes and 11 seconds according to the in-game timer. So if that's not worth a like, I don't know what is. Go through some of the equipment here. Crown of the Pale King. The run is not possible without this item, just to let you know. Incredible. Belly the Beast. Yeah, fantastic piece of equipment here. All of the stats we need and more. Dreadfist, I mean, great physical, great thorns damage on that one. And the boots as well, great thorns damage in that. Brilliant belt, I've got to say. Some decent like amulets and stuff. Some of these are actually really, really strong. That's probably the one that could be improved, I'd say, of all of them. But this is a great, I mean, look, the amount of resist on that ring is incredible with the max life as well. Melee weapon, I could just not find a decent weapon to use, by the way. There is a unique that seems to benefit this build, so they definitely need to add one of those in. I would go through the skill tree. There is actually one part of the skill tree I kind of wish I touched upon, which is that thorns up the top, which is just crit damage on thorns. Otherwise, there isn't too much more to go for. Skill-wise, Arctic Armor, fantastic. Infernal Cry, really enjoyed. Scavenge Plating, Time of Need. Actually quite like Spirit Heavy, which is nice. Infernal Cry was great fun to use, by the way. There's definitely a build in that, just using fire skills alone. And where would we be without Raise Shield? What a mad lad. And that 3 to 4 shield bash damage that made all the difference. Thank you so much for watching. I think it's going to be my birthday by the time this video comes out, so wish me happy birthday if you bothered to make it this far in the video. Subscribe if you haven't. Tell me what games, builds you'd love to see, maybe more Path of Exile ones. Otherwise, see you guys in the next one.